All right, folks, we are live. Thank you, everybody, for being here. It is Saturday night. I was not going to go live today outside of Palantir Weekly, which I think is still happening. I have to see if we're going to be able to do Palantir Weekly in about an hour and a half. But we got some stuff going on, some stuff that's not necessarily the best. And we're going to have Trump speaking in about 25 minutes, if he actually starts on time at 10 p.m. Eastern, addressing the nation on the fact that the United States of America has officially struck Iran. Trump, we have completed our very successful attack on the 3 nuclear sites in Iran. All planes are now outside of Iranian airspace. A full payload of bombs was dropped on the primary site for Fordo. All planes are safely on their way home. Congratulations to our great American warriors. There is not another military in the world that could have done this. Now is the time for peace. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Folks, we're in it. We are in the war. It is happening, and we're going to talk about implications on the market. Some of the oil futures that I'm seeing are already up about 8% because of obvious implications of what it means in the context of what's going to happen to supply chains for oil. In particular, you got Polymarket now putting the odds at 55% on Iran shutting off the Strait of Hormuz. 21 million barrels a day move through the strait, 20% of the global oil supply, 30% of all seaborne crude, and 1/3 of the world's liquefied natural gas sales through the 21-mile choke point of the Strait of Hormuz. Polymarket right here is saying, hey, there is a greater than 50% chance that Iran shuts this down based on essentially, retaliating, even if it's not in a military way, for what the United States has done. And if that happens, obviously we're going to have implications in the context of the oil markets as well. So, yeah, we've got a good amount of things to talk about when it comes to oil prices, the broader markets, what I think is going to happen to equity futures. 8 p.m. tomorrow or 6 p.m. tomorrow Eastern, we will have futures. I'll be live at around 7:45 tomorrow. We'll see the implication on the overnight markets at 8 p.m. Eastern. But we're in it. We are officially in it. Now, the question is to everybody, and again, thank you everybody for joining. In about 20 minutes, we'll have Trump go live. These are the weekend futures right now. There are some websites that kind of track what the futures will look like they can open up at. And the NASDAQ right here is showing it's going to be down, as of 7 minutes ago, about 1.73%. So 2% move on the NASDAQ. That's obviously pretty aggressive. And we haven't had a 2% down day in a couple months, quite frankly. That was at least sustained. But, this is the market kind of giving a reaction to how this is playing out. The question is, are we in a war? Are we actually in a war now? And this is something that I'm trying to figure out. I think a lot of you guys are trying to figure it out. I'm very curious to see what other people are thinking. It's one of those things where I think there's a couple ways this plays out. One way this plays out is this was a military option that Trump has said was extremely successful. He had a interview with Reuters and CBS about 20 minutes ago, very short phone interview, and he said this was a very successful attack, and Americans should be proud of the job that we got done. And that's it. It's over. Iran gives up. They say, all right, that's cool. There's not a regime change, and I wonder if Trump's going to talk about that tonight, but CBS is reporting that the goal of this was not to get rid of the supreme leader. The goal of this was to get rid of their nuclear sites, begging the question, what intelligence does the United States have about the Iranian nuclear sites that became so dramatic over the past essentially 7 days that required us to engage in an airstrike? Or does Iran say, you know what? All right, gloves are off. We're fighting back. Now, granted, can Iran take on the United States military? Probably not. It's likely not going to happen. But if they choose to attack, then, it is going to be aggressive. Iranian state TV said about 20 minutes ago, every American citizen or military in the region is now a target. Every American citizen or military in the region is now a target. I guess we're in a war with Iran. I'm going to do a poll in the chat and see what you guys think. If you also believe that we are in a war with Iran. I mean, again, a war would imply they're going to fight back and then we're going to go back and forth and, it turns into something. But if this is a sort of military operation that is done, then that's a whole different way that the markets are going to interpret this. Are we in a war with Iran? Simple question, yes or no? What do you guys think? Are we in a war with Iran? Buy the dip. You know what? I think a lot of us, quite frankly, this is, at the end of the day, we're trying to analyze it in the context of markets. This is a real thing. It's a very dangerous situation. But, a lot of us have been waiting for a dip. I'm not going to lie. And so if this is what gives us our dip, then I would take advantage of it. Quite frankly, though, I don't think we're going to get a dip. I did buy some Bitcoin today. I bought like $500 of Bitcoin when it was at 101.3. I think that the bottom today was 101.1, so I didn't get the exact bottom. But I bought Bitcoin for the first time in a while today, simply because we haven't seen these levels since late April. And I was like, you know what? Like, all right, if we're going to go down based on just like the interpretation of a war, then I'm going to take a little bit of a stab at it. So I bought some Bitcoin today. We're back at 102. So maybe 101 was the bottom, at least for today. But Bitcoin's already trending back up. It was down before this news happened. The news came out and then Bitcoin went up. It would not surprise me if futures tomorrow are relatively flat to green based on the idea that the market is interpreting, okay, it's done. The worst of it is over. We can move on. And Iran is surrendering. And yes, it's going to have implications for oil prices, which will have implications on the rest of the market. That probably is a net negative. But that doesn't mean we're in a full-on Iraq 2.0 war. That's, maybe how the market's interpreting it. If not, then we might see a little bit of a dip. Do you think Palantir goes up or down on this? I have no clue. In my opinion, Palantir is involved. Like, it's hard to imagine Palantir software is not involved here from the United States side and the Israeli side. I don't know. Because again, Palantir is still a growth stock at the end of the day. It's very high beta. Growth stocks could get hit if we do have a 2% down day on the NASDAQ. But some growth stocks could be perceived as benefiting from this, and Palantir potentially could be up. So I don't know. We're going to find out tomorrow night when the overnight markets open. I would imagine it's relatively flat, though. I kind of don't think this is going to be as aggressive unless Iran comes out and they're saying, hey, we're not surrendering. We're not stopping. You guys got our nuclear facilities, but we're going to keep fighting back, even if it's at the behest of our own people. Whatever we have to do, we are not surrendering here. And if that's the case, then this will be a lot more prolonged, which means then we're going on into a full-on war. Now, that doesn't mean boots on the ground have to happen, but that does mean more airstrikes. And if that's the case, obviously, that's not the best in the world. In terms of the specifics of how this was done, so let me pull this up right here because we do have some details on the types of bombs that were used. Okay, so here's some of the details. So US B-2 bombers struck Iran nuclear sites at Fordow, Natanz, and Isfahan early this morning with bunker busters. I know you guys have probably been hearing that term a lot recently. US intel says Fordow enrichment plant was destroyed. And President Trump says no more strikes are planned and regime change is not the United States' intention, which is good for the markets to interpret. Okay, so we're not trying to, do Iraq 2.0 in terms of installing a new regime. But the question is, what is Iran's response to this going to be? And I think that is something that all of us don't fully know yet. Could this cause the Golden Dome to be expedited? Maybe. This could definitely be a catalyst to increase defense spending for sure. We're already allocating $1 trillion. I don't think we're going to go above that, but could this lead to certain types of government contracts for defense contractors like a Lockheed Martin or a Raytheon, like an Anduril, obviously like a Palantir, get more in demand because of the heightened level of potential that this could turn into? Yeah, that definitely could happen. The question is just going to be how it plays out in that big, beautiful bill. If it passes on July 4th, I mean, the deadline's coming up. Trump wants to get it passed by July 4th. I don't know if he's going to be able to get it there, but we're going to have to see ultimately how Congress decides to interpret this as well. All right, here's another question for you guys. So in the chat, everyone said 60% of you say yes, this is war. Okay. Here's the next question. I'm going to do a new poll. Let's do this. What percentage of MAGA do you think is okay with this? We're going to go 10%, 20%. Let's do less than 10%. And then we'll do 50 or more. 50 or more. What percentage of MAGA do you think is okay with this? Because I have been trying to figure out, if you're a diehard Trumper, make America great again, you voted for Trump, yada, yada, yada. Like, part of the reason you voted, right, was to not have endless wars. And I don't know if this turns into another endless war. Right now, it seems like a military operation that Trump is going to frame as successful and it's done, and we don't have to continue dealing with it. But if it does turn into something more, I think a lot of people in the MAGA base are going to be really questioning, why did we vote for this, or what was the purpose of voting for this? And, how are we going to ultimately deal with the implications of this as well? So I think that's going to be another big thing for everyone to decide. I spelled more wrong. I was typing fast, but it means more, not mo. 56% of you say 50% or more of MAGA do you think is okay with this. 15% of you guys say less than 10%. I think that Trump's base is so powerful that he will be able to spin this in a way that gets people to justify that we had to strike Iran. I mean, the majority of people that watch Fox News, the 3 million people every night that watch it on primetime, they are diehard Trumpers. And Fox News has been, if you've consumed any of Fox News's content over the past couple of weeks, it has been strictly like pro-bombing Iran. Now, independent media outlets that are the Glenn Greenwalds of the world, the Breaking Points of the world, places that are not super left or right, they really do try to keep a independent perspective, and they obviously have their own biases, but obviously it's not like CNN or Fox type of bias. They have been vehemently against this because from their perspective, this is Iraq 2.0. And so there's been a big shift from mainstream media and how they've been covering it versus independent media that I've been consuming. And the leftists are against it because, they don't like whatever Trump does. Some of the right wingers are for it because they want to support the MAGA base. And a lot of the independents are siding with the leftists because they don't like war, even if they still like a lot of the economic policies by Trump. And so I think that is going to be the debate in this country over the coming weeks in terms of how we justify this. Breaking Points is very left. So Crystal, who's one of the hosts on Breaking Points, she is definitely more on the left side. But I think Sagar, who's the co-host, he's a bit more right-wing, right? And I think they both overlap in different areas. But from the independent media that I've consumed, obviously you've got the Ben Shapiro's of the world. He's like, let's bomb Iran as much as we can because he is very pro-Israel. So you get that perspective. And then you get some of the Dave Smiths of the world, which are, he's Jewish and he voted for Trump, but he's a Tea Party libertarian, right? He cannot stand the idea of foreign intervention, sort of like a Ron Paul type of political figure. So from that perspective, I do think there is a variety of different debates going on in terms of how this plays out. Israeli PM is speaking right now. Can we catch that live? I don't see that live on any of my channels. Let's see if we can get a feed of that. Trump should be speaking live in about 13 minutes, 14 minutes. And then we will get a glimpse of what he's going to say as well. What do you guys think he's going to say? Because obviously he's going to brag about this being super successful, but he's going to have to frame this to his base as important. He posted on Twitter. Okay, let me go. He's going to have to frame this as like, something they had to do. And I wonder how, even the tone of his voice, how does he make the argument that like, hey guys, I have to get this done. I know you guys voted for me to not do this, but this had to be done at the end of the day. All right, here's a 1 minute, 20-second video that was posted just now by Prime Minister Netanyahu. Let's get his perspective on this.
President Trump, your bold decision to target Iran's nuclear facilities with the awesome and righteous might of the United States will change history. In Operation Rising Lion, Israel has done truly amazing things. But in tonight's action against Iran's nuclear facilities, America has been truly unsurpassed. It has done what no other country on earth could do. History will record that President Trump acted to deny the world's most dangerous regime the world's most dangerous weapons. His leadership today has created a pivot of history that can help lead the Middle East and beyond to a future of prosperity and peace. President Trump and I often say, peace through strength. First comes strength, then comes peace. And tonight, President Trump and the United States acted with a lot of strength. President Trump, I thank you. The people of Israel thank you. The forces of civilization thank you. God bless America. God bless Israel. And may God bless our unshakable alliance, our unbreakable faith.
All right, you guys buying it? Are you guys buying it? Yes or no? Yes or no? Are we buying it? I don't know, bro. I don't know. I think we need a lot more data to figure out how bad was this nuclear threat. I just, the thing that I've been thinking about all day is that this feels like a total 180. I mean, less than 2 weeks ago, on Wednesday last week, or 2 weeks ago, Trump was saying, we're engaging in really good diplomacy with Iran and they want to come talk at the table and like, we're going to get a deal done. And then on Thursday, you get the Israeli strike. And then on Friday, he's like, yeah, I think the nuclear threat is too strong. We might have to take military action. And I'm like, what happened in those 48 hours that got the president of the United States, who is not, he doesn't run on the campaign of wanting to engage in endless wars. He completely was against the funding we've been giving to Ukraine. He has called the Russia-Ukraine thing an endless war as well. Like, what changed in 48 hours after Israel attacked that got him to go straight up, nope, we gotta bomb these guys? Did they get some really good intelligence? Like some really hey, Mr. President, they have a nuke, or they're very close to getting a nuke. All that diplomacy stuff's out the window. We got to go for it. Or was there something else? And I think a lot of people are confused right now on like why that. I'm like, how did that flip happen that quickly? I mean, I know it was Wednesday and it wasn't Taco Tuesday, but like, goodness, how did that flip happen that quickly for this to play out? Autumn Soul, thank you for the $20 super chat. Thank you for being here to discuss this amid. It helps to have a familiar voice and group to go to. Autumn, thank you for being here. Happy to be here to kind of break this down for everyone. Trump should be talking about 10 minutes. Obviously, we'll be talking about the implications that this has on the market. But yeah, I have been incredibly confused on how this has played out over the past 48 hours. Trump was tired of being called Taco. Well, on Friday, the Wall Street Journal reported that he's going to take 2 weeks to make a decision. And then Trump tweeted after the Wall Street Journal article came out and said, the Wall Street Journal doesn't know anything about what I think about Iran. And then now we got the attack on Saturday. So, he didn't end up taking 2 weeks for this to play out. He was tired of the Supreme Leader posturing. Look, I think there could have been a moment where the Supreme Leader and the Iranian diplomats were like just not budging on the negotiation. And I get that. But at what point does it go from they're tough to negotiate with to we got to bomb them? Like, when did that switch happen? And I hope today, I doubt we're going to get any clarity, but I hope we get some clarity outside of just, the most generic, hey guys, like we had to go do what we had to do for American strength. It's like, okay, that's fine. But like, what specifically did they have that we found out about that ended up saying diplomacy is not going to work in this situation? And I don't think we're going to necessarily get these answers, at least today. J-Pat wasn't helping, so Trump was like, screw it. Well, did you guys see? Oh, I didn't go live. This was after the market closed on Friday. Did you guys see what Trump said about Powell, bro? I think we ended the market close and like an hour later, he posted this. He's upset at Mr. Powell. He is upset. I'm not going to read the whole thing. You can read it right there. But the last sentence is, we should be at the top of the attached list, not the bottom. I don't know why the board doesn't override this total and complete moron. Maybe, just maybe, I'll have to change my mind about firing him. But regardless, his term ends shortly. We are getting rate cuts in 9 months, whether it's through Powell or someone else. But goodness, did Trump go to town on this guy on Friday. Called him a numbskull. I mean, says we need to cut rates by 1% to 2%. Obviously, he's not happy about this. Now, granted, I don't think we bombed Iran to cut rates. If we did, that's not going to help cut rates because oil is about a spike. We know it's about a spike. Maybe it doesn't go up like 20, 30%, but we know it's going to gap up at least a couple percentage points if there's any possibility of the Strait of Hormuz being closed as well. So even if it's a temporary gap up, it's definitely not going to help J Powell's mind to think inflation's coming down. So I don't know if cutting the rates was the impetus for engaging in attacks. I don't think we're gonna get a rate hike either. That would be a little aggressive. Dude, if Powell hikes rates, bro, if Powell hikes, I think Trump would like personally go to the Federal Reserve and have a word with him if he freaking hikes rates. That would be insane. I hope that doesn't happen. Yeah, dude, this is kind of crazy. This is kind of crazy. Now, again, I do think it's going to turn out to be a nothing burger if Iran can't retaliate. And even if they try to retaliate, like they know they don't have the ability to attack us. And if they dare try, if they touch any American soldiers or any military bases, like they know what's coming for them. So I think from that perspective, the Iranian government is always, remember a couple of days ago, they were like, Israel's going to have some magic surprise attack that's going to be the worst thing that we've ever seen to Israel. There was no, they had a couple missiles go back and forth, but there was nothing like crazy. So I think they talk a big game. They usually don't execute against it because they just don't have the infrastructure to do that. The question now becomes, how aggressive do they want to be from this perspective? And I think the big thing is, and I've been saying this for the past week, this is, I'm not a geopolitical expert, but my one take that I've kind of held on to all week is that if Iran was meaningfully going to attack back and there would be a serious back and forth in terms of escalation, they would need Russia or China to support them. And Iran is 1.3% of China's oil supply. So they are a decent chunk of the amount of oil China gets. And China hasn't said anything. China's been like, we're going to stay out of this. They haven't said much. Putin on Friday, he said this right here. We talked about this on the market close on Friday. Putin said, I do not wish to discuss possibility of the U.S. killing Iranian supreme leader. We once offered Iran help with air defense, but they were not interested. Our current partnership with Iran does not include any clause about defense cooperation, and Iran has not asked us about it. Unless Putin's lying here, If he's telling the truth and he said, hey, we wanted to help Iran, but they didn't want our help, I don't know exactly why the Iranians would not take help from the Russians. I'm sure there's obviously some important reasons why, but the point is, if they don't have anyone helping them and they still say we don't want Russia's help, maybe that means that they're not really serious about meaningfully standing on their own, because they know even with Russian help, I mean, Russia's, I don't think Russia wants to get into a proxy war with the United States. Definitely not when Trump's president. So, even if they do take some air defense from them, that's not going to lead to a full-on scale war with Russia backing up Iran. So I think from that perspective, this could be a full-on nothing burger. If, hey, we got rid of their nuclear sites, Trump thinks it's a big win for his political capital from seeming like some strong American president that was engaging in defense. And then we move on to try to get some trade deals. I thought this summer was about trade deals. I thought that's what we were going to talk about. It's mid-June. It's almost the end of June. Thought we were going to talk about trade deals. Thought we were going to get, Iran, or not Iran, not a trade deal with Iran, but rather China, Japan, but that's not playing out. Is Trump live? Let me see. Is Trump live? Trump is not live yet. Let me confirm. Let me see if they have the stream set up and if he's scheduled to go live. Yeah, the stream is up, but he is not live yet. All right. So as soon as they go live, I will switch over to it. And then we're going to see. Yeah, no deals, just booms. No, it does feel like a distraction. 100%. It feels like a distraction. Feels like a distraction more than anything. Amidst getting bearish, no, I actually think it's going to be a nothing burger. My prediction right now is that futures maybe open down 1%. And if they do open down 2%, like some of the websites are predicting right now, I think that gets bought up. I will be buying the dip. I mean, give me Robinhood below 70 again. Give me Nvidia back at 120. If there's, that would be a 20% retracement. I don't think that's going to happen, but at least 135. Like I've been waiting for a dip. I've been having to buy. I bought the 76.92 dip on Monday on Robinhood because that was my dip. I bought the Grab dip, about 1,500 shares. Dude, the whole, I was re-listening to the Grab's earnings call from Q1. I'm actually writing up this like 5-page thesis I have on Grab just because I've like really tried to get all my thoughts down. I was talking with someone from Singapore this morning. And I'm just like trying to fully flesh out my entire thesis. And so while I'm listening to the Grab call, I'm sitting outside trying to understand the earnings better. And listening to that call again just only reaffirmed that I think 450 is a ridiculous price at this point. So like I'm just trying to understand kind of how I see the market turning out, why there's a misalignment between the share price and the intrinsic value. And then immediately, boom, we get a bomb in Iran. And so I'm just like, okay, so I guess I'm not going to be focused on listening to earnings calls anymore. That's how much of a nerd I am on a Saturday, bro. I'm listening to earnings calls. Like this, if you guys want to know what I do on Saturdays, I freaking listen to earnings calls and try to reaffirm my conviction in a company. And then I start covering, and then I start going into this and trying to figure out what's happening. So it's been a distraction for me for the past couple hours, and I wonder how much of a distraction it is for the market. But I would absolutely love to engage in a dip if there's any momentum to the downside. I'm definitely going to Singapore next year, hopefully July. I did a podcast with someone today who was from Singapore, and yeah, I really want. My uncle's in Singapore, so I definitely want to do a 2-week trip there, do a meetup there. It'd be very, very fun to come to Singapore. Trump is not live yet. It says he's scheduled for 10 p.m. I don't know if it'll actually be at 10 p.m. So we'll see. If he goes live at 10 p.m., I will switch over immediately, but these things tend to start a little later. So we're going to see if that plays out. Yes, UK, hopefully in December, I'm thinking. United Kingdom, if not, then definitely early next year. Next year, the goal is Europe and Singapore for the meetups. Definitely we'll do some states, but goal is Europe and Singapore. When the Grab paper coming out, I'm on like page 2. I'm still writing. I'm not even using GPT, bro. I'm like, I haven't like typed this much in a long time. Like straight up just type. I'm just like flowing, typing. I'm like getting all my thoughts out there. It'll probably come out by probably like Tuesday or Wednesday. It'll take me a couple days, but I will get it out there. The reason I'm writing it, quite frankly, is because I don't want to talk about it anymore because so many people have so many questions. I'm like, I'm going to give them this 5-page thesis every time they see it. And either in a couple of years, it'll be right or it'll be wrong. But I don't want to keep readdressing every single point because there's a lot of points of this thesis. And listening to the earnings call today, again, made me realize how much of a diversified business it is and how many different nuances there are, but how early it still is, which is where the asymmetry could exist. And so that's why I'm typing it all up. Google, by the way, I did put a post on Twitter today early in the morning about, are we buying Google or not? A lot of responses on it, and most people are torn 50-50. I mean, honestly, I would say it's more 70-30 bearishness on Google, which is probably a good thing if you want to buy Google. But this thing back below 170. It's down 12% year to date. One of the worst Max 7s outside of Tesla, even though Tesla's getting a way better premium than Google. So this is another one, dude. In a frothy market with Circle pumping and all these IPOs, isn't it one of the most easiest things ever to buy something that's trading at 15 times earnings that does $111 billion of not revenue, profit, that is in our lives every day with Gmail, YouTube? It should feel easy, right? But like the sentiment on this one is just not as optimal as a lot of people would think. Trump's still not live yet. So I think we got to do a lot more talking about when it comes to Google as well. Okay, let me see if we can get some other updates on what's going on. By the way, let me know what you guys did this weekend. I, again, listened to earnings calls, and I kind of did nothing, to be honest. But let me know what anyone else did this weekend. Trump is still not live yet, waiting for coverage. Don't have it yet. He should be addressing it soon. We're going to see how this ends up playing out and what he says. Also, let me know what he says or what you guys think he's going to say. I think it's going to be super generic. Jose says it's wild how cheap Google is. Dude, I agree with you, but like still, it's the perception of what could happen to their search business that's hurting the stock. But I also feel like a year from now, it's going to be $200 and everyone's going to be like, why did we not buy Google? Trump is not live yet. He is not live. Just because it's 10 p.m., he's not live. I've got everything on my screens. As soon as he's live, I'll switch, but he's not live yet. Did you see the unrivaled investing video on Grab? Yes, I did. I think he did a good video. I think it's a good video. This is one, look, again, I'll say it over and over, but this is one that's going to require some patience, but I'd rather buy something I'm convicted in, that I see the vision, that I understand. And sometimes you got to listen to an earnings call a couple times to really understand what's actually happening and then realize, okay, the market's wrong right now. And that's okay. I'd rather buy that than buy freaking Circle or any of these stupid IPOs that are like going up 7. Like I'd rather, even if it's dead money, I'd rather buy something that I'm convicted in, that's flat, that I know is undervalued intrinsically, or that at least I believe to be the case, versus something that's up 7x that, dude, just to show you guys a little bit about Circle, it's kind of ridiculous. Oh, Trump's live. All right, so we'll talk about some stocks later. Here we go. We are going live.
The Iranians, all bets are off, and basically the U.S. could increase its strikes inside Iran. These attacks come as you see President Trump walking down Cross Hall in the White House as Israel has continued the back and forth, and Iran has fired missiles, rockets, and drones onto Israel. Again, the President of the United States.
A short time ago, the U.S. military carried out massive precision strikes on the 3 key nuclear facilities in the Iranian regime: Fordow, Natanz, and Esfahan. Everybody heard those names for years as they built this horribly destructive enterprise. Our objective was the destruction of Iran's nuclear enrichment capacity and a stop to the nuclear threat posed by the world's #1 state sponsor of terror. Tonight, I can report to the world that the strikes were a spectacular military success. Iran's key nuclear enrichment facilities have been completely and totally obliterated. Iran, the bully of the Middle East, must now make peace. If they do not, future attacks will be far greater and a lot easier. For 40 years, Iran has been saying death to America, death to Israel. They have been killing our people, blowing off their arms, blowing off their legs with roadside bombs. That was their specialty. We lost over 1,000 people, and hundreds of thousands throughout the Middle East and around the world have died as a direct result of their hate. In particular, so many were killed by their general, Qasem Soleimani. I decided a long time ago that I would not let this happen. It will not continue. I want to thank and congratulate Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu. We worked as a team like perhaps no team has ever worked before. And we've gone a long way to erasing this horrible threat to Israel. I want to thank the Israeli military for the wonderful job they've done. And most importantly, I want to congratulate the great American patriots who flew those magnificent machines tonight, and all of the United States military on an operation the likes of which the world has not seen in many, many decades. Hopefully, we will no longer need their services in this capacity. I hope that's so. I also want to congratulate the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Dan Kane, spectacular general, and all of the brilliant military minds involved in this attack. With all of that being said, this cannot continue. There will be either peace or there will be tragedy for Iran far greater than we have witnessed over the last 8 days. Remember, there are many targets left. Tonight's was the most difficult of them all, by far, and perhaps the most lethal. But if peace does not come quickly, we will go after those other targets with precision, speed, and skill. Most of them can be taken out in a matter of minutes. There's no military in the world that could have done what we did tonight, not even close. There has never been a military that could do what took place just a little while ago. Tomorrow, General Kane, Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth will have a press conference at 8 a.m. at the Pentagon. And I want to just thank everybody, and in particular, God. I want to just say we love you, God, and we love our great military. Protect them. God bless the Middle East. God bless Israel, and God bless America. Thank you very much. Thank you.
President Donald J. Trump, flanked by the Vice President J.D. Vance.
All right, so we got nothing from that. We got nothing. We really got, in terms of details, we got nothing, guys. That was nothing. Am I alone, or does anyone else think we got absolutely nothing from that? I mean, I don't think we got that many details. That's the core thing that I was looking for in terms of why did we do this? How did we do this? What was the point of doing this? That was less than 5 minutes. How long was that? It was less than 5. It was maybe 5 minutes max. Maybe. I mean, two quotes I got that are worthwhile from what he said. The U.S. and Israel work together as a team. We kind of knew that. That wasn't a surprise. And then he said his final threat: if peace does not come quickly, we will continue to go after other targets. 4 minutes, right? I just wanted to know why the nuclear threat was that aggressive to the point where we had to drop bombs. And now I get there's classified intel that they can't share publicly. I understand that. But there wasn't really, he was some reference of like, Iran has killed Americans in the past. It's like, yeah, we know that. Like they're a big state sponsor of terrorism. We understand that was the whole point of the diplomacy deal. I personally want to know, and maybe we'll get these details over the coming weeks. Maybe Pete Hegseth will give some details tomorrow. What exactly did they do from a violations perspective in terms of, okay, there's no going back. We got to bomb these guys. Like, what exactly was it? And maybe even if you don't give me the exact answer, like, can you give me some resemblance of, hey, we had intelligence that showed us Iran was days away from coming up with a nuclear weapon. Even, however Trump wanted to hyperbolize it, just some more of a better explanation for why we did this. I think most Americans that are listening to this tonight are a bit confused. Chris is here. All right, we'll give it to Chris. Why exactly we did this? I think that's that. I don't know. What did you guys get an answer from that? Did you guys have a realistic understanding outside of Iran bad, we need to bomb them? And if that is the answer, okay, but like a little bit of nuance there would, help us try to understand it from a better perspective. I think there's a lot more questions here than answers. Farzad says regime change. Okay, so Trump did not say anything about regime change in that I was about to call stream. I guess it was a live stream, but in that, I guess, press conference, that message to the nation. And CBS was reporting, he did an interview with them like 30 minutes ago, and he said this was not about regime change. This was about getting rid of their nuclear facilities. Now, granted, if it's actually about regime change, then this is just beginning. This is not done. This is absolutely just beginning because we have not gotten rid of their regime. So I'm still curious exactly how this is playing out. Chris, I just sent you a link, so Chris should get on in about a couple minutes, and we'll see what he has to say. Farzad says this is just getting started 100%. Now, Farzad did say, I think 3 days ago, Farzad said, this is not going to de-escalate. And I think you were one of the first people to say, no, this is really just getting started. It's still, obviously it hasn't de-escalated based on the attacks today. And it still feels like, I agree with Farzad, it still feels like it's just getting started. It does not. Now, granted, if Iran can't meaningfully attack back, then maybe this all ends out. but it does feel like there's something deeper here in terms of why we did this, and I don't think we have the answers, and that might require a further escalation of how this is going to play out. Chris Patel, what did you get from what you just saw?
I'm disappointed, man. This is a provocation by the US. You know, it's like the part that gets me about this whole thing is that it just, in my opinion, shows the level of corruption that we have in the United States when it comes to outside people influencing the US's decisions. I mean, you know, granted, we affect some laws and some issues with some political lobbying by corporations, but now you're starting to see like nation states lobbying Congress and Congress acquiescing to nation states. I mean, seriously, like this is where we are now. You know, you're muted. You're muted.
Are you saying that this was Israel kind of?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. It was Israel and the lobby that exists within the United States that's supported by the Jewish people who support Israel, right? Not all Jews support Israel. There's actually a good faction of people who are against it. But Israel and the lobbying that they do via AIPAC, it's so strong. And now you're starting to see even people within Congress that would normally be against this. They, you know, like against a war. They're like, oh no, this was absolutely necessary. And then I ask myself, okay, let's game this out. How come we never asked Pakistan to relinquish all of its nukes? I mean, they found Osama bin Laden and all these terrorists in Pakistan. Like Pakistan harbors terrorists. They actually trained them there. Yet our biggest problem is what? It's Iran. Like this, you know what I mean?
Well, dude, your point right here is important because 24 hours before Israel did the preemptive strikes, Trump was talking publicly about we're going to get a deal done. He was very enthusiastic about getting a real deal. And then 24 hours later, it's like, nope, we got to bomb these guys. And I'm still confused. Yeah. Why? Theoretically, before Israel did preemptive attacks, you would think the United States is ready to they have the intel that's necessary to be like, okay, no, diplomacy is not going to work. Why after, you know, the attack did we get away from diplomacy?
No, man, because this was not necessarily diplomacy. This is proactive reasoning by, in my opinion, Netanyahu, because he sees the sea change coming within the United States with regards to political, like politics shifting. I mean, in my opinion, I think if you go back 20 years, U.S. was a lot more supportive of Israel. And I think after seeing what's going on in the last like 2 years with regards to Gaza, I think the stranglehold that the Israelis have on the U.S. politics is starting to weaken. And so I think the calculated move by Netanyahu was, if I don't do this now, if we don't do this now, we may never have another president in the United States willing to support this action. You know, so I think that's the main cause. I think there's still enough juice left within the AIPAC lobby that that they were able to coax this action. Now, what's funny about this whole situation is you're starting to see really interesting bedfellows. Like Marjorie Taylor Greene is MAGA, right? And she's a Republican. She's like the crazy, that side, like the far right Republicans. And then you've got Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib on the other side of things. And they're like, you know, they're like super Democrat. They're bedfellows right now. Yeah. They're on the same team. So what does that tell you? That tells you that even among the most staunchest supporters were against this. So like I said, I think the sea change is there. I think the younger generation in the US is not necessarily as closely aligned with Israel as much as possible. You know, as it was in the past.
Do you think there was a legitimate threat from Iran in regards to uranium enrichment? And
100%. I think Iran definitely was enriching uranium, and they were definitely going to get a bomb eventually. I can't say like, oh, it's going to happen tomorrow. I mean, now the challenge that we face when it comes to Iran getting a bomb is there's plenty of countries on the planet that have bombs. Why aren't we like attacking all of them and saying, UK, we don't trust you with the bomb. You need to not have it. North Korea, we need to start attacking North Korea. We need to invade them so they don't get the bomb. Pakistan, either you get rid of all your bombs or we're going to invade you tomorrow. India, you need to get rid of your bombs. Why don't you do that? Like, so in my opinion, once a country obtains enough like nuclear weapons, the chances of it ever getting invaded and a regime war happening goes to next to zero, because at that point, no one wants to kind of risk that kind of retaliation, right? It's really hard to retaliate. It's really hard to get people to convince to attack a country who has nuclear weapons, basically. So in this regard, I think Israel was just playing it smart and saying, like I said, let's take it out now, and we don't have to worry about it, at least for another 10, 15 years. I mean, if you think Iran is going to quit trying to get nuclear weapons,
Yeah, no way.
No, they're just, the one thing that they're definitely going to do now is that instead of building the next nuclear sites, like enrichment sites in the desert, they're going to build them in the cities, right? The fact that they built it in the desert probably made this even easier for the US and Israel to attack. Because, I mean, imagine you had built this underground in the middle of Tehran. Could the US have done the same thing?
Do you think that Trump got intel after the preemptive strike that outside of the enrichment, Israel was very close to developing that nuclear warhead? And that, like, when I mean
Israel
very
was,
close,
or
I mean,
Iran?
sorry, the Iran was, and that's what really got him to be like, we're done with diplomacy.
Brother, everyone's been saying that for like the last 20, 30 years.
No,
Iran's this close to the war, this close to the bomb,
I
this
agree.
close to the bomb.
Do you think this time they actually were that close? And
I think this is, I'm telling you, I think this is more political in that the shift, the shift in perception and support of Israel is diminishing by the day. And if they did not do this now, the next time Israel would get condemned all across the planet. Now, the other thing is, I would say this actually benefits not only Israel, but Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is actually probably another big beneficiary. Because one thing about the Saudis is the Saudis are not exactly like best friends with the Iranians, right? I mean, remember, there's still that Sunni Shia dynamic that's there. So, I think this was one of the conversations that I'm sure Trump had with MBS was, look, if we were to take out Iran's nuclear sites, would you support boosting OPEC oil production? And what's funny is, over the last few weeks, guess who's been boosting oil production? OPEC, right? So I'm sure that Trump played this economically too. So any thinking that, oil prices are going to spike, it may spike a little bit just because like the news is out there. But I think the Saudis have enough spare capacity and influence in OPEC to really like pump a lot of oil into the markets to make sure that we don't get the what is that thing called, the inflationary wave. So
how do you think this affects the markets? I think it's kind of a nothing burger, dude.
Yeah, I think it's a nothing burger as well, because Iran doesn't necessarily have the kinetic like strength to make a war happen. Now, on the other hand, we may see an uptick in terrorist attacks across like some parts of the Middle East, right? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that's something that tends to happen. The challenge that you run into with something like this is that, when you cut the head off of a snake, the little snakes all around it start to like get antsy. So if you think about it right now, if you call America the Great Satan, and one of the reasons why America is the Great Satan is because we keep bombing countries in the Middle East. Well, there you go. There's another justification why America is the Great Satan. They call Israel Little Satan and America Big Satan.
Yeah.
But I mean, we keep bombing them. We keep bombing them, their countries. What do you think, man? Like, it's not hard to think about.
It's a very Western perspective to say, hey, we need to engage in this type of military action. But if we were Iranian and we lived there, if we grew up in Gaza, it's a totally different perspective, right? And you can't blame having that perspective. Do you think Iran? So you mentioned terrorist attacks as like a pseudo response. Do you think they actually try to target American military bases, or they see this attack and they're like, all right, we're going to lay back?
The challenge is not necessarily that Iran itself is going to do anything, but what it is they have proxies, right, that they support. And the proxies are absolutely crazy because they're fundamentalists. The last thing you want to deal with is fundamentalists who have nothing to lose. Their entire existence is, we need to do X and we don't give a crap about the ramifications. That's the real challenge that we run into. So, I mean, the challenge here is, And I know some of the people in the comment section, you're going to say, if you don't support Israel, you are anti-Semitic. You can think that all you want. I don't think that's the case at all. I think this is just one country being very fearful of its neighbors. And to some degree, they're scared because their neighbors have in the past been openly threatening the US and Israel. So it's not to say that, oh no, the Iranians are definitely not like provocateurs, but just because someone is a provocateur doesn't mean you go bomb them. Like, how many times has that happened with Russia? How many times with China? Like, are we going out there and be like, we need to take out every Chinese site because the Chinese are about to invade Taiwan?
Yeah.
Like,
well, we
no.
do a lot of business with China. That's it comes back to money.
Yeah.
A lot of times it comes back.
Like I said, unfortunately, this is the situation that we're at a point where, like I said, the stranglehold of Israel on U.S. politics is weakening. I think this was one of the last chances that they really had to do this. And that's it. I don't know.
Iranian state media saying the U.S. did not destroy Fordo. Some entrance tunnels were damaged. Now, obviously, this could be propaganda from their perspective, but they're trying to say, hey, the main centrifuge is protected by 1,000 meters of mountain that the United States bunker busters could not get through. Do you believe them?
Why would you say that? Now Trump's going to send another wave. Like, wouldn't it be smarter? Look, America, you got all of our centrifuges. You know what I mean? Like, you won, America. All right, let's go back to enriching this uranium, son. I mean, that would be the strategic thing. I'd be like, you know what, America? You are right. You got every single centrifuge. Don't worry about it. Don't look and inspect. I mean,
they are really bad at marketing, like really bad.
I mean, I'm telling you, if I was the leader of Iran, I'd be like, yo, America, you got us, bro. You got our nuclears. And I'd be like, yo, listen, these fools, bro, they didn't get shit. All right, let's go enrich this uranium. But yeah,
you put out you put out a statement saying we give up, they got us, and then behind the scenes,
I mean, that leads me to believe that they probably did lose all their centrifuges, and now they're trying to save face, So it's a very interesting dynamic. So yeah.
Futures, you think it's a nothing burger? Oil prices and this poly market pull on the Strait of Hormuz. Do you think that could be a little bit of a bad thing for input costs across the entire economy?
I mean, okay, so this is the fun part about geopolitics, in that the biggest losers of a closure of the Strait of Hormuz, do you know who it would be?
No, who would it be?
Three countries. One, Qatar, because Qatar needs to go through the Strait of Hormuz to get all their natural gas out there. Two, it would hurt the Chinese because most of their energy comes from all that area. So now what are you going to do? All the natural gas that goes to Europe and goes to China all goes from Qatar over there through the Strait of Hormuz. So the Strait of Hormuz is going to cause natural gas prices to spike, right? The US, we have our own oil, we have our own natural gas. We're not worried, right? And then it also does not benefit Iraq, because Iraq, if you see anything that they're going to develop, and not so much Iraq right now, because they're still developing, but it would really hurt China a lot. And so I think one of the reasons why the US did what it did was it probably got some assurances from China too, that the Chinese wouldn't necessarily, I mean, the Chinese were the main suppliers to Iran regarding some of its weapon systems and all this other stuff too. So,
This is how the bunker buster is supposed to work, for those that want to see what a simulation of it actually looks like if it were to get dropped.
At the moment, the penetrating bomb is dropped from the aircraft. It can rely on its powerful kinetic energy to continue drilling down in the direction of the sharp warhead, just like a nail being driven into wood, without detonating immediately. At the same time, because its casing is made of high-strength materials, it can protect the internal structure from damage during impact. In order to achieve precise strikes, the delay fuse at the back serves to delay detonation until the penetrating bomb reaches the set depth, at which point it will detonate the explosives according to specific instructions. This design not only destroys enemy underground factories or laboratories, but also minimizes excessive damage to surface targets.
I don't know why they got Beethoven playing in the background on that video, but dude, we live in a scary time where we've got these types of weapons and AI is only proliferating the extent to which the weapons will become even more deadly. It's pretty incredible.
I think one of the parts that hurts just the world is that when you do these regime change wars, people don't realize that you actually create more problems way down the line, because you destabilize countries and you destabilize regions. By destabilizing regions, you end up literally the worst parts of some of those fundamentalists, they become active. And now they get a slew of recruits that are like, you know what? I'm doing this because the US is, like I said, the big baddie. You know, this is this, like, I was thinking about this. I was like, this is like the emperor saying, like, we had to bomb Alderaan. Alderaan had weapons of mass destruction. You know, like Star Wars. You ever watch Star Wars?
I love that movie, dude.
Yeah, so there you go. So it was like the Death Star. We had to destroy Alderaan. They had new weapons of mass destruction. You know,
it's a great movie. Luke Skywalker, incredible. Darth Vader, you know, good characters. I did not watch that movie, guys. I don't know. What is Alderaan? I have no freaking clue what you're talking about, bro. Yeah. But I kind of get the analogy. Yeah, I can't even hide from it from the chat. They all know.
I just wish that this could have been resolved peacefully, you know, where Israel and Iran actually got together and said, look, stop trying to destroy us and we'll stop trying to freaking build a nuclear bomb.
But how do you do that? With, like, I've seen some of the Iranian politicians or supreme leaders speak about this over the past 20 years. I've been watching some videos, documentaries on it. They straight up say Israel shouldn't exist. Like, it's like they do not believe the state of Israel exist. And I think that was the impetus for Trump to be like, all right, enough is enough.
So even among that, this is where politics comes in that one of the things that you do if you want to control the masses, you give them an enemy to look away from your societal 100%. Social problems.
100%.
You know, so right now the Ayatollahs, their main thing is don't focus on all the religious repression that we're giving you. Focus on Israel, the demon that's oppressing the Gazans, you know? And the same thing, like if you look at all of these countries around the planet that tend to be like very fundamentalist in nature, they tend to always have an enemy lined up for their populace to hate. And that's how they stay in power, right?
But see, the Saudis don't deploy that type of strategy. You know, the Saudis aren't as fundamentalist as Iran, but there are Middle Eastern countries that are able to.
The Saudis are very. So let me correct you on that. The Saudis are very, very fundamentalist, but with the new crown prince, they're becoming a lot less fundamentalist. And that's the thing. Like, you need organic change. I know some people are like, we need to bomb Iran because women are like repressed in Iran. I'm like, bro, women are repressed in like 100 other countries. Y'all are not out there trying to like invade them so women can get driver's licenses, you know? So whatever reason that a lot of people come up with to try to do regime change, like just stop. Like,
it's usually virtue signaling. The only reason you could legitimately justify is if you think Iran's going to drop a nuke.
Yeah. I mean, what if one of these countries was like, we need to invade America so that they stop with this OnlyFans, and we gotta invade the UK so stop Bonnie Blue from doing like 1,000-person gangbangs. Like, right?
That would be kind of crazy if they impose their values on the West and try to invade. But then again, they can't because we have a better military, right?
Right. But no, I'm just saying, like, so everyone's got cultural flaws that are there. I mean, bro, we literally have a chick out there who's trying to gangbang like 1,000 people, and we're like, you need to adopt Western values, and this is one of our representatives right now, you know.
Yeah, I mean, look, so from that perspective, you could obviously see how other parts of the Middle East would not want to adopt that level of Western individualism. At the same time, you can't be stoning women to death because they take off the hijab, but that doesn't mean we get to invade because they're doing that. You know,
right? I mean, and this goes across both spectrums. I mean, one of the things, like, if you see in Africa tends to be very conservative, and they really are anti-gay. Like, they have a lot of problems with homophobia. Okay, the U.S. was like, either you accept homosexuals as a part of your people, or we're gonna cut off aid. The African countries are like, what? Like, why is this even related? You know, but that's how it is. So the US, we tend to impose our values on them. And I'm like, bro, some of our values are not that great. Like, stop, you know.
That's fair. It's a fair point. I am curious to see now how this escalates. Again, my take right here, and this is my early take from everything, is I think this is done from the perspective of Iran. I agree with you. They might have some sponsored terrorist attacks, but they are not trying to attack military bases, because if they do, they know what's going to happen. So from that perspective,
but that's perfect for them, dude. This is the problem. If you attack the US and you bring them closer, this is a Sun Tzu strategy, where if you're going to fight the enemy, you bring them to the belt buckle right next to you, because then they get bloodied too. Right now, the US has zero blood, right? Because now all we're doing is power projecting through our bombers. They would love to attack one of our bases, and now the US has to go in there, quote unquote, and invade Iran. Who would end up losing long term?
Oh, the trillions of dollars we would spend, the countless lives we would lose, all to get a regime that is going to be sucked up in a power vacuum anyway, right?
And then who could end up coming back to power anyway, like the Taliban? I mean, 20 years later, if the same country gets back, the same regime gets back in charge, then what was the whole point of the whole thing?
Yeah. By the way, guys, for everyone asking about market predictions, we talked about it for the past 10 minutes. We think oil will spike up, but we think the broader market will not have a meaningful downturn. I mean, I could see 2-3% down, but I think that's the extent. I don't think this is a 10%, 50% black swan coming.
By the way,
you buy the dip.
The strategy of bringing them close to the belt buckle, that was actually adopted by the Vietnamese. Yeah. So one of the things that happened during the Vietnam War was that the U.S. was in South Vietnam. They would put Viet Cong guerrillas and everything else right up close to where the fighting was, like in the cities, in the states. Why? Because this way the entire war was fought belt buckle to belt buckle, like literally right up front to each other. So if the goal of Iran is how do we get the US to weaken long term, the way to do it is by basically attacking us, and us, instead of saying, you know what, let's go take out the perpetrators, we actually invade a country and try to do regime change, and then we spend the next 20 years in a Vietnam or Afghanistan like situation.
It's also showing the extent of new defense technology, right? Aerial drones, precise targeting, autonomy.
Look, none of these countries have any like reservations that they could not win against us in a straight up fight. Like, Iran has no power to do that. But if we end up invading, they'll do the exact same thing Saddam did. You know what Saddam did before the invasion?
What?
Do you know what? Opened the entire Iraqi arsenal to everybody. It doesn't matter, terrorists, whatever. Opened everything. Like artillery shells, freaking like mortars, guns, everything. Just said, here you go, take it all. And that created a massive problem for us, because when we invaded, those are the same munitions that were ended up using, turned into IEDs that ended up attacking us. So it would be the same exact thing that would happen in Iran, where, like I said, we invade, they unleash their arsenal into the general public, and now you've got yourself all these random people willing to die for their country, and they've got the means to make us regret our decisions. So,
do you think the Iranian people will revolt because of this, or like a revolt against the regime, or this is not enough to actually get them to?
If anything, it kind of emboldens them. No,
how?
It kind of emboldens the population.
No, but do you think that inspires them to overthrow the supreme leader?
No, if anything, like I said, now you got yourself the great Satan is proving himself to be the great Satan by bombing your country.
Unless a healthy portion of the Iranian population wants them to bomb, not because of the casualties it could cause, but because it could get rid of the current regime.
Look, everyone said the same exact thing. The U.S., when we invaded Iraq, we were going to be the liberators. Remember that?
Yeah.
Oh my God, like, we hate Saddam. 6 months later, we were there for oil. And what happened? They all turned on us. Sadr City ended up becoming one of the most dangerous places on the planet. Yet the Shias, who were regularly oppressed by Saddam and the Sunnis from Tikrit, what happened? I thought we were the liberators. I thought we were the friends. Come on, guys. Like,
yeah. I mean, it's fair. I was talking to Farzad. Farzad actually is from Iran. He's Persian, and he was saying that a lot of people do want the overthrowing of the regime to to achieve some level of liberation. But the big thing he pointed out, which I think all of us understand, is that it's got to be internal. It
Yes,
has to
absolutely.
This is why the countries that have freedom, you had people that died and fought for that freedom, and that's why we're so grateful for that. But it's not easy to get it.
I'm telling you, it's the same thing with Afghanistan, same thing with Libya, same thing. Like, one of the reasons, in my opinion, right now that Syria is actually going through an improvement, because I think right now there's some level of stability that's coming, is that this was a Syrian civil war. I mean, yes, a lot of people died and Assad eventually got removed, but the Syrian people are the ones that are kind of in charge now, right? And so it's not our job to choose who the next leader is going to be. That's the job internally. So if the Iranian people want women to vote, rise up. You know, one of the reasons why the Shah was overthrown?
Why?
Because the Shah was very oppressive to his own people.
Like, I thought the way he's framed is like the guy who was better than the current regime that we have right now.
No, it's definitely better. But the problem is, when the Shah was in charge, do you know what Sabak was? Sabak, you ever heard of that? No. Sabak was like the secret police in Iran. So if you said anything bad about the regime, they would literally come, they arrest you and make you disappear. So people, like, right now, they look back like, oh man, the Shah of Iran was a great guy. You don't think like all these millions of people in Iran all ended up getting riled up and behind the Ayatollah because everything was great in Iran? Like, come on. Like, the guy was spending money right and left. I mean, there's so many things that people forget, like, over history. But look, I'm not saying that the regime that came after the Shah was any better. Like, these guys are worse, way worse. But the problem is, you had a quote unquote a dictator that wasn't exactly doing right by his people. That's what happens. You have internal revolutions when you don't take care of your people.
Trump just
is that wrong? Is that wrong to say that?
No, I don't think that's wrong at all. I mean, you're obviously going to get people revolting if they don't feel taken care of. Trump right now just tweeted, any retaliation by Iran against the United States of America will be met with force far greater than what was witnessed tonight. Thank you, Donald J. Trump, President of the United States. Yeah. Laura, thanks for that. There you go.
Yeah.
I mean, from a political capital perspective, he's sounding like the big dog who's doing, I mean, like, I think from that perspective, he likes it. The question is just, how Iran actually retaliates if they do.
That's, this is the sad part. When you think about any revolutions, they usually start with a good intent to basically make some political change that's supposed to benefit everyone. But usually the revolution ends up being corrupted by tyrants. And then the tyrants get in charge. And the tyrants are typically 10 times more like repressive than what they just replaced.
Yeah. And that is the problem with that's why when people critique American democracy, it's like, dude, there's plenty of stuff to critique, but it's like we've got a little bit better of a system than a lot of other places in the world that has somehow survived for the past 250 years. AOC just tweeted, she wrote, the president's disastrous decision to bomb Iran without authorization is a grave violation of the constitutional and congressional war powers. He has impulsively risked launching a war that may ensnare us for generations. It is absolutely and clearly grounds for impeachment.
This is where she's completely lost. The president has the absolute right to take unilateral action, just not like major war. Like, you need money for Congress, you need money from Congress and everything else to actually launch a real war. Like what is it called? Like, a unilateral action like this is something the president's allowed to do. Because why? Because let's say there was an event that took place. It would be really bad if the commander in chief couldn't react because they needed congressional approval. Like, hey, there's nuclear bombs, missiles headed towards us. Let me go to Congress and get them to vote on whether to fire back.
Right.
So in terms of like single actions, the president has the right to do it. And guess what? If that was the case, then she should be criticizing Barack Obama, because Barack Obama did the same thing. Do you know how many times we bombed a bunch of Houthis in Yemen during Obama was known as drone in chief, man. He used to drone everybody. Okay. Did he go to Congress every single time, be like, hey guys, can I take out this thing? Like, no. So that whole unconstitutional shit is bullshit.
This is why voting for the president matters. He is the commander in chief for a reason. So
Yeah.
like even my dad was asking me today, how did he do this without congressional authority? It was like, because he's not going to war, but I mean, if you're the commander in chief, you have the unilateral ability based on the people democratically that trust your judgment on a
Yeah.
decision like this. And 80 million people voted for him in this country to potentially make this decision. Now, will they be okay with it? We'll find out over the coming weeks, but that's why he was able to take the action.
Yeah, and it's the same thing. I mean, if we now, on the other hand, if we were to conduct a ground war in Iran, yeah, you need Congress because Congress has to authorize the war and also at the same time pay for it.
Yeah.
Right. So that whole thing is a different story. So, you know, like I said, all the Democrats, when they try to come up with this unconstitutional and all that nonsense, bro, none of y'all said the same exact thing when your guy was in charge. So y'all need to shut the up about we protect the Constitution. Yeah, okay. You were letting millions of people through the border thinking, oh no, that doesn't require any sort of issue like thing from Congress. You know, even though that was technically illegal. So everyone virtue signals when it's the other guy in charge. So whatever.
I'm just curious to find out if we get any more intel. How serious was Iran to developing a nuclear weapon? Like, how close were they? Like, I truly am like, because if that's the case, then
I don't think we'll ever really know.
But like, imagine they were like, call it a couple months away. That means they didn't start developing since January 21st. That means the entire Biden administration, they were working on this stuff.
I told you, man, it's not that hard to make a nuclear bomb, dude.
Okay, don't explain how to do it, because last time YouTube...
I'm not going to explain. I'm just saying. Did it really? Did they really?
You were out here giving us your nuclear scientific knowledge, and YouTube was like, hey, this is inappropriate. Like,
the key is enrichment, right? So if you see all the attacks that we didn't just say, oh yeah, let's go bomb Tehran University because they're going to sit there and figure out how to make a nuclear bomb. Like, no, you need enriched uranium. So that's the key. The more enriched uranium you get, the closer you are to building a nuclear bomb. That's it. So right now they took out the enrichment site, slows them down. It's going to take them another 10 to 20 years to develop enough enriched uranium, if they ever get there, to develop another nuclear bomb. So this is it. This is like, once again, constantly over and over.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't know, dude, if they really were that close, maybe this ends up being justified over the long term. This is gonna, I think, be a nothing burger on the markets, but I don't think it's the end of the story playing out. And you know, when Trump struck Syria in 2017, I was in college, and I remember like, oh my god, like this was his first like military action. It was nothing burger. It was like we talked about it for a week and it was over. We talked about it for a couple of days and it was done. So I wonder if this will be the same situation, or if it really does escalate to be even further.
I don't think it'll be that escalatory, to be honest with you. I think everything, like, we won't even remember this 2 weeks from now. Just.
Yeah, I mean,
unless there's like an attack on the U.S. base. I mean, even when there was an attack by the Iranians on a U.S. base, Trump did not retaliate. You remember that? I mean, he didn't invade. Remember when that happened?
When was this? That was 2018.
Yeah. I think was it the Iranians that launched? Yeah, the Iranians launched missiles, and it didn't kill any. I don't think it killed anyone, but it
was just something for them to do to say they did it.
Yeah, it was a retaliatory strike, so we'll see what happens. I mean, the Iranians are definitely going to try to at least come up with some sort of thing to like save face and remind people that they're in charge. And they might actually use some of this as fanaticism to basically get more popular support among their people. But outside of that, I don't think there's really much.
I have Palantir Weekly in 15 minutes for anyone who cares about a dedicated podcast to the company Palantir. Chris, I got 15 minutes with you. Do you guys want to do some questions on stocks for the last 15 minutes?
Yeah, I think stocks probably good.
Okay, so any questions in the chat on stocks? Well, all right, so let me start off with this, and then we'll get Chris's take on what's going on. I saw this today, and I was like, it's a little aggressive, all right? So here you go. Circle is now worth $65 billion. In comparison, Robinhood, $69 billion, $1.3 billion of net income. Coinbase, $78 billion, $2 billion of net income. Circle is $65 billion, almost as much as Robinhood, 70% as much as Coinbase, $259 million of net income. They're trading at 216.
I'm going to stop you here, and I'm going to say we should not be looking at Circle. You know what we should be looking at?
Visa?
SBET.
No, we're not ever looking at. What are you talking about? Why SBET? You got to be
Okay.
kidding me.
No. Let me explain some of the things that I've been researching about SBET. I'm still doing it very,
there's no way
very preliminary. Hold on. It's very, very, very preliminary.
Oh, you got fans in the chat already. No way, dude.
Just listen to me.
The Ethereum treasury, really? I'd rather buy Circle.
Let me explain before you start to get all worked up. Look at what Tom Lee posted on Twitter about SBET. So this stable coin regulation is going to come out. It's close to being passed now. Once the president signs it, everyone is going to probably have their own stable coins. Okay. Yeah. Do you know how many stable coins are currently on the Ethereum network and how much gas fees on Ethereum end up causing? And so if all of these companies start issuing stable coins and transacting, and they're all being done on Ethereum, where do you think the Ethereum network usage is going to go?
Wait, but why do they have to use, do you know Circle will be giving out their stablecoin through Ethereum? Is that correct?
No, I'm saying everyone is focusing on Circle, right? Being the stablecoin guy. What Tom Lee's saying is absolutely right. Look at the amount of traffic if all of these stable coins go through, and it's all going to be happening primarily on Ethereum. Probably.
Why? That's my question. Why is it on Ethereum? I'm uneducated about this. Do you know why it's?
Well, I'm trying to figure. I'm not a crypto guy. I don't know 100% crypto. I'm trying to figure this out myself. I mean, maybe this is one of those things that you actually want to do. Bring someone on to do some DD on.
Okay, so
as far as I know,
the reason you're thinking SBET is because SBET has an Ethereum treasury, essentially.
Well, one, it has an Ethereum treasury. It has the largest Ethereum treasury outside of I think Vitalik, right? So they have a lot of Ethereum right now. Look it up.
They have 500 million worth of Ethereum, if I'm not wrong.
Right. So now, if you have all of this Ethereum, all of those gas fees that get collected and generated, who do they go to? They go to the people who have proof of stake.
I'd rather buy Ethereum, though. I wouldn't buy. Why would you buy SBIT?
Because they're a treasury. That's what I'm trying to tell you, that they end up collecting gas fees.
Yeah, but they also just diluted by 65 million shares.
I'm telling you, it's preliminary research. I'm not saying, oh my God, go out there and buy SBET, but I'm saying this is something that's actually pretty interesting in that people are looking. That's what I'm saying, that there's people are looking at Circle as, oh my God, that's the stable coin play. And I'm saying, no, where are the pipes to this stable coin thing? I don't give a shit about, the finished product. I don't want to look at the surface level. I want to look at the bottom level, because if SBET does benefit, bro, that's a less than $1 billion market cap company right now. Look at the net asset value on SBET.
No, you're not wrong on that. Market cap is 600 million. It's
and
down.
How much Ethereum do they own?
If I'm not wrong, guys, put in the chat, but I think they own 400 million of Ethereum. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's how much they own. 465 million. That's the treasury amount. Okay, so we'll look at SBIT. We'll look at Ethereum. Look at the implication of that. In terms of this actual valuation, though, on Circle, do you think would you take the contrarian approach that everyone's saying it's overvalued, therefore it's not, or would you say no, this shit is actually a straight up bubble?
I mean, from a just net asset value standpoint, it's a bubble. People are looking at it, and in my opinion, people are saying, oh, look, there's what is it, 50, 60 billion stable coins issued. That means that these guys are worth this much. I don't think that's the case at all. I think they collect money from the treasuries that they, have underlying supporting these things. But once again, I think we need to look at the pipes. ETH is like the oil for a crypto. Many different projects are created on the ETH network. Absolutely. Smart contracts, all of these things, they're all on the ETH network.
I can talk about companies being expensive even if I own Palantir, okay? We need to stop this nonsense that I cannot speak on a company being expensive just because I own another company that is a little aggressive in terms of its multiple, okay?
Yeah. If anyone here is super bullish on ETH, I'd like to know why. And how much money can you actually generate by holding Ethereum and staking it? because that's the key, right? Because if you can hold, let's say, $1 billion in Ethereum and you're staking it and you're getting a 6-7% return on it, that means you're getting $60 million.
Yeah, but dude,
And if
Ethereum has not performed the way people thought it would perform for a long
look,
time.
I get that the price of Ethereum has not performed, but once again, what is how much are the gas fees from transactions are the ETH guys getting? That's the real value that we need to look at.
It's gone down significantly. I mean, last time in 2021, when ETH was the main blockchain for NFTs, the gas fees were ridiculous. It has come down, but I'm curious why Bitcoin has basically 5x'd since the bottom, and ETH has done relatively nothing, right?
Well, that's because Bitcoin is like a store of value, right? No one transacts with Bitcoin. Like no one goes out there and let me buy like pizza with Bitcoin, right? That's all being done via smart contracts by things like Ethereum, right? So if you have all of these stable coins being issued, all of those transactions and those blocks constantly moving back and forth, that all generates money. And that goes to the Ethereum network. And I'm guessing it's the people who own proof of stake, right? Most of the gas fee is burned, destroyed. It's not revenue for stakers. They mostly get subsidy, new issuance. All right. I know that's, like I said, there's something to look at. I don't know if that's true. I'm telling you, we need to get someone who's a damn Ethereum expert and explain this thing to us.
Yeah. If anyone is an ETH expert, message me on Twitter and we'll try to do a deep dive on. I'm going to do a deep dive on Lemonade, Circle. And, oh, by the way, I'm just telling you this right now. In 3 weeks, we're doing a Google deep dive. You, Steve, Austin, you know Austin from the chat.
Bro, maybe you let someone else do the deep dive.
No, you're the Google guy. You like Google. We need to.
I like Google, but trust me, you want to hear things from other people, not just me, man. I've been on 2 of the deep dives already.
Yeah, because you know how to dive deep. You know,
and they've pumped. So I got 2 for 2. I want to keep my record going.
Oh, so you have no confidence in Google, bro. You're talking about.
I have every bit of confidence, man. But
that's hilarious, bro. That's hilarious.
But I'm telling you, we definitely need to figure out the ways that we can benefit from this stablecoin legislation.
We buy HOOD.
No, you buy treasuries. TLT, baby.
No, TLT is not the play.
TLT.
HOOD is the play. Well, TLT, I think we'll do well still, but
yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like, if that kind of liquidity comes into the market, now you've got all of these people rushing out there to buy bills, and the people who have bills are going to end up buying bonds. I mean, notes, and the notes people buy bonds. I mean, that's the long-term theory. And that's what Scott Bessent is actually banking on right now, that with the stablecoin legislation, all these people who end up issuing stablecoins, they end up buying treasuries to support those, So look at, Amazon is thinking about launching a stablecoin.
I feel like every other company is realizing there is a benefit for them creating their own payment infrastructure, which is why Visa's freaking down 15%.
And MasterCard too. I mean, imagine instant payments cross-border, like without without the fees that Visa and MasterCard are getting. I mean, that's why I was kind of surprised when you took Visa.
No, don't even backtrack. You said that. I will replay the clip.
I know. I thought it was like a smart move. I thought it was a smart move, but I was like, interesting.
Well, why didn't you say, hey, Amit, you might want to reconsider that? I could have taken it back. He was like, good move.
I wasn't gonna explain to you how you're gonna, you were gonna outperform me. Like, dude, no, bro, I want you. Bro, if you were gonna pick Palantir, I wasn't gonna steer you away from that.
Look at this, guys. Lance, look at this. Look at that. As soon as I say, give me Visa, you're gonna hear what Chris says. He's like, good pick. Good pick. You guys ready? Look, right here. I don't want to talk. Give me Visa, bro.
Good pick.
Visa.
That was a good pick.
That's a good pick. All right.
Good pick. That was a good pick.
That's a good pick. All right, Matt.
And Steve.
Good pick.
Visa.
That was a good pick.
That's a good pick. All right, Matt.
I'm over here like, yeah, baby, I got some Visa. And then the next day it's down 5%. I was like, guys, what's happening? And they're like, stable coins. I'm like, stable coins. This company's screwed, bro. 1/10 of my ETF is done, like just demolished. Having said that, I don't think the impact of stable coins on their earnings for the next 3 quarters, at least 2 quarters, will be bad. So I feel like it is kind of undervalued because it's just perception right now.
Well, the problem is it's all perception, man. That's how the market works. Like, look at Google. Google's perception is bad that they're going to get disrupted. That's why no one's willing to pay them more than an 18 PE right now. So imagine right now the perception is Visa and MasterCard are going to lose out on future growth potential in business.
Chris, what do you think about Robinhood getting into mortgages, bro?
I love it. Bro, they are the thing is they are not issuing the mortgage. All they're doing is utilizing a partner to do the mortgage issuances, and they get a cut.
Yep.
I mean, that's perfect. You've got this loyal user base that now you can funnel into another party who pays you commissions. So what is this going to cost Robinhood? Nothing. It's going to be a great benefit to users. It costs Robinhood nothing. If anything, it gives them money. All they have to do is just put it in their platform. I mean, this is how you make money. You sell additional services.
And there's no risk to the balance sheet. Number two, they're giving you a $500 credit to incentivize people to join. You have to be a Robinhood Gold subscriber so that they make a little bit of ROI on that perspective. Here's my big thing. Let's say they make nothing. Let's say they lose a little bit of money, a little bit of margin on these mortgages. If you sign up for Robinhood Gold because you want this mortgage, you might sign up with a credit card. You might start buying some Bitcoin. You might start using Robinhood banking launching in the fall. I mean, like, to me, it's just another way to get people into the ecosystem, even if it doesn't produce revenue. But I kind of think they got 25 million people. Some of them, like a lot of people, like in their 20s and 30s, or in the next 5 to 10 years, will be in the market to buy a house. Why not get it through Robinhood?
Someone was also like, oh, watch Robinhood do insurance. I'm like, bro, I'm sure that they're looking at a partner to do like car insurance, home insurance. Bro, get them in your ecosystem. Get as many people in your ecosystem as possible. So yeah. I think Robinhood is making the right move. I think what's his name? Vlad is very, very smart, and he's making all the right moves. I mean, dude, I expect credit card revenues to start coming in the next couple years. I mean, I use my credit card all the time, my Robinhood Gold card.
Bro, I use that thing every single day. I spent like $3,000 on that thing last month, bro.
Let me see what there are a couple of things that I wish they would honestly do. I wish they had bonds and stuff, but I know that the infrastructure on that would be a lot more difficult. But bonds and preferred equities are what I would like them to do, because then I'd like to set up a system where I have one account that's just nothing but fixed income that's paying me, and then link that to my credit card payments and everything else. So like now what happens is anytime I need to, pay my credit card bill, it's coming out of my income portfolio, And usually that's what I do. Like right now, like any money that I like profit on, like stock wise, I take a portion of it and just drop it into fixed income. And that's the stuff that I don't look at. That's just like the nest egg that's just going to keep growing. Oh,
I agree. And that just fuels the ecosystem. Someone said, admit it, if you love the Hood mortgage referral so much, why don't you like the So and Lo-Fi loan platform business? It's not that I don't like the LPB. I've always just said the market is not interpreting that as like high growth technology, a technology type of business. Robinhood is a tech company. This is just accretive and additive to what they're already doing because there's a lock-in effect with an ecosystem. I think the loan platform business makes a lot of sense. SoFi has no risk on the balance sheet and they're able to grow that substantially. But the AWS of fintech, which is what I think would create the multiple that people are looking for, is not really there in terms of its growth. And that's why the market is not going to give them multiple because of loan. Like, I don't think that Robinhood is going to get a multiple expansion because of mortgages, but they're going to get more top line growth in their ecosystem. And that's where it's a
The other thing that I hope that Vlad thinks about adding in the future is letting people loan shares to short.
No, they are dude. You can do that right now.
You can?
Stock lending. They make like $25 million a quarter off stock lending. Yeah.
How? No, they make it, not the users.
No, the users. No, the users get like whatever I think it's. I have a friend who makes like $100 a month because he does it.
Bro. Like this entire time I had Venture Global, like I have a bunch of shares on Venture Global. They were all lent out and I was making bank on them. Like it was like 16, 17% yield on those lenders.
Yeah, you can go into your settings right now and say, you can turn it on.
Really?
Go into your settings. You can automatically loan out your shares.
I had no idea. All right. Well, there you go. That's some news to me. I thought they didn't allow that. Let's see. Where do you go to that? Where do you go to see that?
I'll tell. I have to go check. I'll tell you. I have it turned off because I don't do it, but I'll show you. I used to.
You
see it.
reoccurring edit dividend reinvestment.
In
cash
terms of
sweep,
robotaxi news
stock
tomorrow-
lending, it's enabled. It's enabled. I didn't realize that. Interesting.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah, dude,
great.
they've made lots of money off stock lending for the past couple of years.
Yeah, view
That's one of the
stock
first things they
lending.
had. In terms of look for robotaxi, I don't know if it's a sell the news, but I know that there's going to be a lot of hype from the influencers like posting videos. It's not going to be the oh my goodness, hundreds of thousands of vehicles are on the road yet. So I don't know if it'll be a sell the news, but I also don't think it has to be a like Tesla's going to 350 type of thing. So
Yeah.
I think market's
Damn it.
relatively flat.
Bro, I didn't know that they had stock lending. Otherwise, I would have just bought the shares on Rob. Like, I literally have a Fidelity account just so that, like, and I bought shares in that Fidelity account just so that I could get the benefit of the stock lending. I didn't know that it had it on here. I just lend it out on this one instead.
If you use margin, apparently, I didn't know this. You can't do stock lending if you're on margin. That makes sense.
I'm not on margin. I'm not on
You're
margin at
borrowing,
all.
so you can't.
I
Yeah,
never. That's the one thing I never ever do. I never go into margin. I don't care how bullish I am about a company. Never gonna get into margin. Sorry.
The
Not gonna
risks
happen.
of it are just
Yeah.
aggressive. Very
Yeah.
aggressive.
The one
Okay.
one other thing that I hope they eventually do also is that asset-backed loans. That
So
would be good
that's
too.
what I was gonna say. If they can give you a better mortgage rate because you have a ton of Palantir stock or a ton of Hood or a ton of Tesla, I mean, that is very because the 25 million people on Hood, like now they're getting some assets, and
Yeah.
if they could, there's a lot of ways they can make it a juicy offer for people.
Yeah.
So,
All right, brother, man. Have a good one. Good luck.
cool stuff, Chris.
Enjoy
Thank you.
Palantir
Chris's
Weekly.
Twitter I'm putting right here in the chat. You guys can follow him. He'll probably be on the Sunday Future Show, maybe tomorrow night. If not, then he'll be on.
I'll let you know. Yeah. What's the scope of Elbit Systems among this war? Elbit's going to do really well. Do you know Elbit Systems? They're like a $20 billion market cap. They designed the helmets for the F-35. They have a whole bunch of side businesses, but they're Israeli. The Israeli defense
Elbit's,
contract.
I've never heard of Elbit. I'm gonna look them
Elbit
up.
Systems.
Yeah,
They also provided
Oh,
drones
I know this
for
company.
India. They also provided drones for India when they were attacking Pakistan. So yeah.
I know this company. Yes, you're 100% right. Yeah. Oh, by the way, the Israeli stock market's at an all-time high right now too. So I mean,
war's good for business. All right.
all right.
Later,
There's
dude.
Chris. Yeah, Chris. Talk to you next week. Later.
Yeah. Bye.
All right, guys. So I have 3 minutes, and then I'm going to Palantir Weekly. For those that care, we will do an hour on Palantir. We haven't done it in about 3 weeks, or 2 weeks, so we do have a bunch of things to talk about. But if not, then I hope everyone has a good night, and I will see you guys tomorrow on the Future Show, and we will talk from there. Why doesn't Hood let people short stocks? Quite frankly, I don't think they trust users with shorting their stocks because that could blow up your account. And I'm kind of happy they don't let people short stocks. Granted, I think they will eventually allow it probably in like another year or two, but I also think it's very risky. And so there's got to be a lot of like warnings to people if they try to short a stock, because obviously that could really hurt the account. Okay, cool. So that's what we got. Palantir. We're not switching to another channel. It's just on YouTube. I'll put the link right here if anyone wants to see it. It's already on my channel. But a bunch of updates in the world of Palantir. We will be discussing that stuff. And yeah, that's pretty much it for today. Again, tomorrow I'll be live. Market open as always on Monday. Do you ever sleep? I did take a nice little nap today for like 2 hours. So did get to get some rest here on a Saturday. All right, that's it. Be safe, everyone. Thank you all for being here. We'll be back tomorrow on the Sunday Future Show. We'll talk a lot more about all these different stocks. I know there's going to be a lot of implications on them based on what's going on geopolitically, and we'll go from there. All right, thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye, everyone.